So, a couple of days ago, the YouTuber Magcarjoe made a video on Regigigas that is really good, and you should watch it. I swear I'm not copying that video, I just ran out of other drawback abilities to talk about. So, I'm talking about Slow Start and Regigigas, I guess. Slow Start is an ability that for the first 5 turns that the Pokemon with the ability is on the field, its attack and speed are halved. When it comes to drawback abilities, I see this one as an in-between of drawbackiness with Defeatist and Truant. Defeatist would definitely allow the right Pokemon to be broken with it, if it had high enough stats. Truant, on the other hand, will hinder literally just about any Pokemon that has it, no matter how powerful. Slow Start can nerf nearly any Pokemon into the ground, or can have barely any effect, which is starkly different from the other two. But on the Pokemon that has to run Slow Start, Regigigas, it leans towards nerfing it into the ground. But wait, isn't Slow Start like a huge drawback? How would it barely affect a Pokemon? Well, firstly, it only affects attacking stats. A Pokemon that doesn't use attack or speed will not be affected by Slow Start, and as opposed to Defeatist, does not affect special attack and attack in the same way. Slow Start will only lower attack, as opposed to Defeatist, which will lower attack and special attack. This means that a bulkier special attacker that doesn't need to outspeed opponents will not be affected severely by Slow Start. Of course, Regigigas is severely affected, as it has minimal stalling options and is a physical attacker. Oh yeah, Varoom also gets Slow Start, but it also gets Overcoat and it has an evolution, so it's not that important to the conversation around Slow Start. So, I don't really like that Regigigas has Slow Start. I know, unpopular opinion. This isn't just because it makes what should be a good Pokemon become really bad, but because, just like Defeatist and Archeops, Slow Start just isn't very interesting on Regigigas. And that's in part because just about every Regigigas will play the same. Stall out 5 turns and then hope to sweep the opponent. Slow Start could be so much more interesting on a Pokemon better designed around the ability, but Regigigas just feels like Game Freak put it on some random Pokemon. In fact, of the main 4 drawback abilities, Defeatist, Truant, Zero to Hero, and Slow Start, only Zero to Hero feels like it was truly designed to work with the Pokemon that has it. And when you look at the results, Palafin is actually usable and really, really good in singles. Some better designs for Slow Start would be that 1. A Pokemon that even with Slow Start would have a reasonable offensive presence. Something along the lines of having 200 plus attack and speed, so that even halved it would be usable, but after 5 turns, it would become a nearly unbeatable monster. Or 2, a Pokemon that would play a primarily defensive role, that if your opponent couldn't manage to KO, would then be able to transition to a setup sweeper. Slow Start should, in a way, be a benefit to the Pokemon that has it, because even though its attack and speed are halved, the Pokemon should have the benefit of higher stats overall. It's for this reason that drawback abilities are in a way positive abilities, as they let the Pokemon be more powerful. This is excluding Truant, which is completely and absolutely horrendous. And strangely enough, a drawback can be of more benefit than a positive ability. Well, kind of? Let me explain. Imagine if Regigigas had 80 attack and 50 speed, with an ability that, after 5 turns, double those 2 stats. Now, the ability may be beneficial, but unintuitively, it's now a worse ability, as abilities like Neutralizing Gas no longer affect it. And just another thing with Slow Start, it almost has 2 drawbacks. You see, even if you can keep Regigigas on the field for 5 turns, you get the drawback of not being able to switch Regigigas out without losing the boosts. And just like everyone else says about Slow Start, 5 turns is just way too much. 5 turns gives your opponent more than enough time to switch into a counter for Regigigas, and be able to stop it, even if Slow Start wears off. And because Regigigas will almost always run Protect, it won't always have the move slots to be able to handle everything, which it has to be able to do, as you can't switch out for something else without losing the Slow Start boost. All of this just adds together to create a Pokemon that struggles to do anything. Regigigas is also easily outclassed by setup sweepers. While Regigigas' stats do look fairly impressive, many setup sweepers can surpass it after a couple of turns. While Regigigas does have Protect, assuming you don't get lucky, you will at least give your opponent 2 turns to attack Regigigas. Most setup sweepers will be in a position that they can end the game in 2 turns, while being able to exert much more offensive pressure throughout the game, and not giving your opponent as many free switches to a counter. Regigigas having to use Protect also makes it much easier for your opponent to set up on your own Regigigas. The advantage to Regigigas is that it has a massive amount of natural bulk, something other setup sweepers in a tier may not have. I think this is why it is usable in the PU tiers of some generations, as the Pokemon in the tier don't have the ability to KO Regigigas, as well as Regigigas being able to exert a small amount of offensive pressure even before Slow Start wears off. And this is why Slow Start isn't fundamentally flawed. It in theory can still allow the Pokemon with it to function. I think it is flawed, mainly because 5 turns is a bit too much, but it can still allow the Pokemon with the ability to function, unlike Slacking's ability Truon. Though, I have been thinking about a wacky little fix for Regigigas that would actually involve making Slow Start an even bigger drawback. You see, all of the other Regis have 201 stat or another, except Registeel, except for the 2 attacking stats. So I thought, what if we give Regigigas a 200 base stat in every single one of its stats? Did you think this was only gonna be for its attacking stats? Hahaha, no, this is for everything. It made all the Regis after all, it should be the strongest of all of them. However, to balance this out, all of Regigigas' stats will now be halved by Slow Start. It will also take double damage until Slow Start wears off, to balance out its HP being 200. However, after those 5 turns are up, your opponent almost guaranteedly loses. This change would make Regigigas have an actual offensive presence before Slow Start wears off, but it would also take more damage than it does right now. This would also give Regigigas an unmatched reward for surviving 5 turns in play. Also, Slow Start will no longer be affected by neutralizing gas, because that would be broken. Well, I don't know what else I have to say, other than thank you for watching. If you liked the video, consider giving it a like. If you didn't like it, dislike it. If you want more, subscribe, and tell me what I can improve in the comments. Anyways, I'm Blip, and see you later.